When professional baseball started as we know it. That's what we're talking about today, folks. Thanks for joining us on the Baseball Brewhaha. We got coffee. And we're talking 1850s baseball and kind of where this thing all started from the standpoint of professionalism and all that kind of stuff. So we're excited to get into it today.
Yeah, the beginning of box scores, statistics. It
Yep.
starts right here, folks. And the beginning of the World Series and the All-Star game, kind of wrapping up All-Star week for us here,
Mm-hmm.
with going back to the very beginning. So, Aaron, I have
Yeah.
no idea what picked nines is over here, so hit me with your question.
Yeah. So, well, before I dive into the question, just a little bit of context here. So, baseball started to really grow in the 1850s, and in 1858, um, professional baseball with gambling and all started started then. It was still primarily just in New York, with New York City and Brooklyn having the most competitive teams, and so Henry Chadwick organized and promoted it as the first World Series that consisted of what were called picked nines, or essentially all-star teams from New York and Brooklyn to play in this World Series. And the it was this the first time admission was charged, a dime for a ticket to get in, and this was when rules were still such that pitchers pitched underhand, and flyouts could be made still on one bounce. So sounds it was a bit more like a softball game, baseball game. But all right. So your pick nines question here. In the first World Series between New York City and Brooklyn, was to see which city had the upper hand. How many games were in the series to determine the winner?
Well, as I'm thinking about this here, check out this photo of Aaron and I with the World Series trophy. I'm curious what the trophy looked like back then.
Probably
Was
like
it
that.
featured straight from Tiffany and Company, just like this one.
Yeah.
How many games? I know they played longer series back then, so I'm gonna guess 9 games.
So this was actually a short one. It was three. They played
Okay.
a game per month. One in July, one in August, one in September.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay. An interesting series format as well. Okay.
Yep.
Well, so speaking of Henry Chadwick, around this game, and then sort of uh, as the game became more publicized, people are looking for stats and were interested in that kind of thing. And Henry Chadwick was known at that time for being very organized and highly detail oriented. And Chadwick himself was a journalist, and so he sort of was at the beginning of getting stats going, including box scores. And
Hmm.
I was doing some reading recently, and he is how the K became part of the box score
Hmm.
because of a particular word and within a phrase. What
Hmm.
is the word or phrase that was the origin of the K for a strikeout?
I thought I had seen somewhere recently that this was from the word strikeout, but like the first STRI were already being used. I don't know if that's correct, but I'd seen that somewhere. So,
Well, it sounds like there may be some, up in the air history, but
hmm.
according to what I was reading about Henry Chadwick, it started because it was the last letter in the phrase, the batter was struck when they struck out. And so they put the K on the end there instead of writing the batter was struck to fill an entire,
Sentence. Yeah.
can't fit a
Right.
sentence in a box score box.
Yeah.
So, so yeah. So,
Nice.
Aaron, you've got an inside bet for me. What is this all about?
Yes. So during this game, John Henry Holder became the first player to hit a home run that appeared in a box score. There was a fan of Holder's that placed a bet for $100. So translated, that's about $3,700 in today's monies. that Holder would hit a home run as a way to encourage Holder. Oh, he told him before the game about his bet and told him he'd give him a portion of the winnings if he hit a home run, which he did in the game. Which, you kind of think like this isn't like Babe Ruth style where guys were actually like throwing fast and trying to get them out. This is a softball game, remember? It was like underhand pitching, and the batter could tell the pitcher where to throw it
Yeah.
on a high ball or a low ball. And then the batter, there were no like, you could sit there basically and just take as many pitches you wanted until you got one you get hit. So it sounds like that's kind of what Holder did here and hit a home run. So my question to you, Adam, is what portion of the winnings from the $100 did he give, or how much did he give him of the winnings?
I'm gonna guess half.
No, so he gave him $25.
That's a pretty good takeaway for Holder.
Yeah,
Even better one for the better there.
yeah, indeed,
For sure.
indeed.
Well, that's a fun one. So, this question here is about the box scoring. Going back to box scores, Henry Chadwick set something in motion that has still impacts the game and box scores and players today by ignoring a certain type of play when he would score games and record them for posterity. What type of play did he ignore?
Boy, I remember that. I don't know for sure. I remember we had talked previously about in a previous show long ago about errors being scored very differently. I'm going to go with errors, that they didn't count errors.
It was actually walks. So at
Mm,
first you couldn't really walk, but then once walks were part of the game, he would ignore them, saying that it wasn't the batter who did it; it was the pitcher who just threw bad pitches.
mhm,
Um, Even though we now know, and what's argued today is that batters have as much to do with walks as pitchers do most of the time.
mhm.
Um, so it's the walk. It's not part of a batter's batting average. It's part of on base percentage, which is helpful. But um, so yeah, it's the walk. Henry Chadwick still living with us today.
Plus, if you play any level of baseball, you up there and your batters that aren't as strong, how do you cheer? Walks as good as a hit.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh man.
So we're taking a look at the scoreboard here as we're finishing up Saturday, leading into Sunday showdown tomorrow. We're covering 3 innings. We got lots of questions. It's 3-2 heading into our showdown. Um, so we got an exciting one here. It's low scoring, but it's exciting. We got the drama coming your way.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good one. Hang with us. But before we get to Sunday, Aaron, who are we shouting out today?
We're gonna shout out here Pedro Ramoli. Pedro, I got to meet him in when we were both living in Moscow, Idaho, of all places. Fun to see him subscribe to the show. Thanks, Pedro, for joining us, and we love having you part of the Baseball Brewhaha. Thanks everybody for joining us. Drop a comment below. Find us on Twitter at Base Brewhaha. We'll shout you out. Love to. Thanks everybody. See you next time.